There are two Gospels in the Bible that talk about the birth story. And Arlene shared with us the Gospel of Luke and his take on the birth story and what happened that night. And I'd like to share with you a little bit about the point of view of Matthew. Matthew in chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has born King of the Jews?" Matthew was a little more specific. Luke referred to him in a different way. "For we observed his star at its rising, and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. And they told him, well, and of course, in Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star appeared. He then sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child." Diligently. "And when you have found him, bring me words that I may go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and they paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. According to the Gospel of Matthew, the news of a king for the Jews was frightening, not only for the Roman government in charge, King Herod and his crew, but also for the Jews, all Jerusalem with him. So what does that tell us? There were a great many people in Jerusalem at that time living under Roman rule, and there was relative peace in the land. You could get along, right? The Jews had learned to live under Roman rule, and most had gotten used to it. As word of a king came about, well, that's big news. That was the big CNN headline, right? King of the Jews coming soon. In the minds of many who had tried so hard to get along, to work in the environment that they and their children were in, it was difficult, but they were doing their business and their families were surviving. But some people in the population think those in charge are taking advantage and they can't be trusted. Sound familiar? There's always kicking against authority, no matter who the authority is. And don't we do that as well? We resist change, yet we want change. Change this, but don't change that. For the majority of us, our mind is learned and gets used to a certain way of living in a certain environment. And we're able to adapt in our environments. Oftentimes we set up resistance to allowing new messages to permeate the mind with the possibility that things may change. They may change for the better. Yet somewhere deep inside, there's always something changing. We just don't always know it or want to admit to it. So from our daily word today, the manger represents the rebirth of our own divine nature as life and love. So the possibilities of new life are there. They're always there. New things and ideas present themselves, which they do these days. Every day, it seems. There's new things happening, new things going on, new things to share. We can't keep up with it all. We have a lot of information coming our way, and we may find ourselves resisting everything, even the sound of our own heartbeat. King Herod wanted to find out where this new king was going to be in order to decisively eradicate any possible threat to his station as ruler of the land. We do that as well, on many fronts that come our way. Mostly that's a good thing, but sometimes we shut ourselves off from the greater blessings that could be. A couple of different examples. I have a friend whose wife needs help with medical issues. She gets advice from a doctor and It has not relieved her pain. But there are some alternative methods to help her pain and her physical problems in a better way. But she refuses to let anything happen without that doctor's permission, that supreme expert. So she will not accept new information to make up her own mind and use her own power to determine what is right for her. She has empowered the doctor to make all the decisions on her behalf and has given her power over to someone else. Some of you may know Reverend Michael Moran. He's the senior minister of the Spiritual Life Center in Sacramento, another Unity church. His wife, Faith Moran, also a Unity minister, contracted a rare and untreatable brain disease. That was a prognosis that they were not willing to accept. So they traveled to many parts of the world in order to find alternative ways of treating her illness. The mangers of their minds were open to alternative possibilities to possibly enable healing. Mike and Faith were able to go on amazing adventures around the world in search for the cure. Even though Faith finally succumbed to the disease, their journey together was very rich. So our journeys here on earth are not always long, but how we spend our time here matters in quality and in depth. How do we share our gifts as Jesus did in supporting others? Let's be willing to open up the manger of our own mind and contemplate ideas that may put us on the path and empowers us to live a better life, whatever that looks like. We make the choice to give divine ideas, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, which are gifts of heart, intention, and focus. Or we tell King Herod, look, see, someone is trying to help me see differently and then justify its eradication. It's up to us. Contemplate how you may react to new ideas that come into your awareness. How can you be more open to receiving the blessings that are yours? Jesus kept telling us in a multitude of ways that the kingdom of God is within. The kingdom of God is the manger of our hearts and minds which live. And it is up to each one of us to be open to the glory of God that is just waiting and wants to fulfill our every deep desire. As we enjoy the birth story once again this year, bring it into your own heart as your own birth story, the rebirth of your own true nature as life and love. The birth of new life that is your grace to lift you to a greater vision of freedom and joy. Blessings to you in all your adventures, that they may be the richest ever. Thank you, God. Amen.